Sunday and it's been a really nice weekend, nice and sunny. It's quite hot and you can see I've got a few things outside. Where's Milo? He's vanished. He's around somewhere. So last week I was off sick for a bit with a bad sinus infection, so I was actually off sick for 3 days. And then this week, oh, here comes Milo, I can see him. He's running through the garden. This week I was in town a couple of days a week, so I'm not able to do anything on those evenings. And then I ended up aggravating my old neck injury where I've had a slip disc in the neck before, and every so often the nerve gets pinched, and this time it was really bad. Like I'd be moving and suddenly the nerve would pinch and I would just basically freeze up just from the pain of it. Any movement was painful. You try getting in and out of bed without moving your neck. It's almost impossible. So I found the best thing for it is heat. So like a wheat pack when I'm inside, and even though it's a really hot day today, I've actually been wearing a scarf for the last couple of days, and that really helps. I find I don't get too hot. It feels quite comfortable actually. But we've been working on the Riley. You can see the rear guards there. And what else have we done? These arrived. These were just fairly cheap from China, like everything from China. Just little saddlebag things. I think what I'm going to do is I've ordered some more of these, what do you call them? Buckles? Catches? Whatever these things are. And I'm going to sew those onto here so I can strap this on top of the bag, because that gives me quite a bit more storage. If I want to actually go and do some shopping or something, I can fit things in this. I can just sort of clip it on the top there. It's meant to go over the seat, but this one is too long, and because the exhaust come up too high, it would actually melt the bottom of the bag. Oh, he doesn't like this film, he's off. So, a few little jobs. After going to Southwoods last weekend on the bike, I actually had a friend visit yesterday and I was showing him the bike and went to show him it starting, and went to start it up and used the choke, and I discovered that the air filter here, which is held on by 3 screws, it wasn't held on by 3 screws. It was actually missing 2 of them and was right on the point of falling off. And when I went to start it up, the air filter, inside that housing there are 3 discs of perforated metal. They sort of stack together with little metal, little wire clips between them to give you a space. And that's basically the air filter. You oil them. And those all fell out. So I was really lucky they hadn't dropped out on the road somewhere. So I've replaced the screws and I've put them in with Loctite. So that's all back to normal. I had previously ordered a new grip for in here. It's just a plastic thing. Where's the old one? This is the old one. And this one was, you can see it's all torn apart. It was split on the end. I actually cut the end off it because it was catching, and that helped. But I'd ordered a new one because they're pretty cheap, and that's for new old stock. And I also ordered a new throttle cable, and that arrived this week, so I was able to fit that. I had to retweak the carbs and I rebalanced them, but that's got rid of all the grittiness that was in the throttle, so that's much smoother now. So that's really good. And I ended up having to adjust the ends of the guards. They weren't quite right, and it's really hard to get this all nice and smooth because I don't have the right shaped dollies. I don't even know what would be the right shaped dolly to get in there and be able to hammer this smooth. So there's a few dents and things. It'll need a skim of filler. I did use Mr. MIG welder to help build up some of these edges and then sand them back to get them nice and smooth, but it's come out okay. I made 2 new brackets. I think I mentioned in the last one I'd managed to mess up the end of the bracket, but I was able to fix that by making a pair to match these ones. And again, these brackets are the same as on the front. Flat bar welded to a piece of round tube, all built up with weld and then ground back to make it nice and smooth. The guards will bolt on there and they'll be nice and strong. The issue is the rear one for 2 reasons. So one is immediately behind this is the fuel tank, and my plan there was to put a ring around the outside of this tube so it can't go into the car, because if the car ever gets hit here, which if it's going to get hit, that's quite a likely sort of place, you don't want this puncturing the fuel tank. It's just going to leak fuel everywhere. So that's been a bit of a problem for a while. Because those two, the top and the front stays, will actually hold this pretty well. Once that's all bolted on, you just need something to stop this vibrating. And you can see it also doesn't line up. I got my measurements slightly wrong, I think. So what I'm going to have to do is bend up a piece of tube, kind of like this. I'm going to use thin wall tube, because one, it'll be easier to bend, and that will go in there, and then I can adjust it so it touches the guard in the right place. I may actually make that out of aluminium tube if I can get some the right diameter and I can bend it, because effectively what that'll do is it'll make it collapsible. So if it ever does get hit there, it's just going to bend the stay and not puncture the fuel tank. I'm not sure if I can, maybe when I take the body apart to paint everything, I might be able to weld an end plate, like a stop on the inside of the tube that goes into there. So we'll have a look at that. But yeah, it doesn't need that stay to hold the guard on, because it's not going anywhere. It just needs to stop it vibrating, because otherwise it's going to do that. It'll do that as it goes down the road. So it's to stop that vibration. So I think that's what I might do. The other thing I considered is welding a little plate onto here, so this only goes in so far, so it would hit the body, and then have another tube that comes out here, make that out of maybe even a piece of wood. I may drill, if I made it out of steel, I might drill holes through it, through the bottom of it, to weaken it so that it is going to collapse if it gets hit. There's a few things I can do, but I think what I'll do first is get it bolted onto these front 2, trim the insides of these tubes because they're way too long, as you can see, so that I can get those sort of sorted out in the right place. These are kind of adjustable because there's a bolt that holds them on here, locks them in place, so you can move them in and out a little bit. They're quite a tight fit on that tube, which I realized is going to be a problem when I paint these, because it's going to add thickness, so that might be a little bit of a problem. Possibly not. They go inside there, so I can sort of seal those off. Yeah, a little kick up on the guards is quite nice, and tempted to roll this outside. Oh, the camera really distorts it. Everything seems to line up. My mirror and screen, they all seem quite nice. I was thinking about making a little, some sort of piece that just sort of clamps onto there or screws onto there with a piece of leather to fill in this gap. Not sure. It would be quite good to be able to close that in, possibly, but I like how that looks. I like how the mirror looks with the shine taken off it. I like how this looks with the shine taken off it. This is all stainless steel, so it won't rust. Yeah, that's where we're up to on the Riley. Whatever else have I been doing? So, a drink because it was very hot. The other thing that happened this week is head gardener let me buy a couple of new toys, and I got electric hedge trimmers, and I also got an electric line trimmer, DeWalt, because that's what all my tools are. I was waiting for some sort of bundle deal. They do that quite often, but they don't for these typically for some reason. I've been looking for ages, but in the end I just had to buy them. And each one came with a 5 amp hour battery and battery charger, which is good because I can reuse the batteries for everything, of course. So now there's multiple chargers and multiple batteries. These ones are a bit smaller. But so far, yeah, I'm impressed with how well they work. Battery life's really good. Of course, the interesting thing is when you've got hedge trimmers, it's remarkable how many things appear to be hedges that you end up attacking. So I've got a big pile of stuff there I need to mulch. Maybe I'll do that a bit later. But I've sort of trimmed that hedge. I trimmed that main hedge along the front, especially on the front, the low hanging branches. I used the hedge trimmer to sort of clean it up, and then had to use loppers to chop off some of the bigger branches. You can see I've tidied up things around here. But, yeah, good fun. The weed eater works really well. It's quite good that you don't need air protection and you're not messing around with little two-stroke engines. I mean, I like engines. I like playing with engines, but I like doing that as a hobby, separate to doing, say, the gardening stuff where you just want the things to work. And yeah, I'm pretty much sold on the electric ones. See, I did a little bit here as well. I think Milo is checking out my work. So yeah, it's been very good. So I've been riding the bikes around. I rode them around the garden. I'm definitely getting better at the slow speed stuff. I'm getting much better at just trusting the bike will go where you look. You really can do much tighter turns if you look where you want to go, which sounds silly, but that seems to be how it works. If you want to do tight U-turns, as long as you're looking over your shoulder where you want to go. The problem is at the moment with my sore neck, I can't really turn my head, so I can't really do much motorcycling on the road because I can't do head checks and things. So I have to wait till that gets a bit better. The other thing I did is mounted the quad lock for my phone. That works pretty well as well. And it's good. The phone, I was wondering how visible it'll be in bright sunlight, but no, it's fine. It works pretty well. So, and I still haven't listed the Kawasaki, but yeah, I think it's time to move that on. My fuel tank that I painted, I obviously didn't do the prep quite well enough because it's bubbled, which is annoying, and I'm wondering if I should strip all the paint off, repaint it and clear coat it, but no, maybe I can leave that for the next person. Need to clean those things up, don't we, Milo? Yeah, maybe I'll roll the car out now. No, actually I think I'm going to wait until I've drilled and bolted the guard in place, the rear guards. Then I don't need the clamp. The reason I need the clamp is it's not quite balanced, so it's right on the balance point because this is right at the top of the guard, so it sort of rocks a little bit if I don't clamp it down. I think those are going to look okay. I have the door open because I was going to roll the car outside to have a look at it, and then I realized I can't, because normally the way I roll it is by rolling the wheels, pushing on the wheels, which is the only way I can do it by myself. It's not a great car for pushing because there aren't a lot of places where it's you don't want to risk denting the aluminium or anything trying to push on it. And since I'm here by myself, I could probably roll it out there, but then I'm going to struggle to get it back up the little slope back into here, so we'll leave that. I really need to just get it running, and then I could drive it out. But I've drilled the holes for the rear guards, but I haven't filed the little slots or the little squares, because of course I'm going to use coach bolts with the square head. I'm too tired to do all that filing. You have to do it by hand with a little square file. I'm supposed to be resting, but it turns out I don't have more of those coach bolts anyway. I was sure I bought enough for the whole car, but it turns out I didn't, or at least I've put them somewhere safe and I don't know where that is. So for now there's just normal hex bolts holding them in place, but they look okay. A little bit of tweaking needed, just a bit of fettling to get them lined up properly. I'm sort of aligning them with the back plates. I think this one's sticking out a little far, maybe. It's hard to tell. And these aren't bolted in, nothing's bolted in place, but already they're pretty rigid. Once all of this is bolted on and everything pulls tight, these should be nice and strong. But you can see how the back will wobble, so I definitely need to sort out that rear piece. That would be silly if the door couldn't open because the guards are in the way. But oh, luckily they do. They seem lined up on the wheels. The camera really distorts it. Makes it look a lot longer than it is. I think this one, there may need to be some tweaking of the little bend in here just to get the tops of the guards level. I think that one is twisted just a little bit. The other one looks right, but that's easy enough to do. Yeah, this looks twisted as well. I need to do a bit more hammering. There's a line in here which is from the edge of the bead roller, and it's really hard to hammer that out. I'd like to do it hammer from the back against something flat, and then I could hammer that smooth. The problem is this lip is just big enough that I can't actually get any of my hammers in there. You can't get them lengthways because of the curve of the guard, and I can't get them up against there because of the lip. I need a hammer with a longer head, which I don't have. But yeah, that one, they'll come right. If you look at pictures of actual cars, especially if they're not just recently built or recently rebuilt cars, the guards are all over the place. I suspect they get dinged and bent and messed around, so I'm not going to try and get them perfect. Nothing else on the car is perfect. But, I think that's Milo saying he wants to be in my film. If he gets really enthusiastic, he pushes through the mesh insect screen on the doors. So, no, that looks good. So I need to get the bolts, and I need to figure out what I'm gonna do at the back. But yeah, I think maybe I'll see if I can get some aluminium tube and put that little bend in it, and then I can just weld on an aluminium bracket, and I think that'll take care of the problem of you know, not wanting basically a steel spike sitting on the side of your car there that can go through and puncture the fuel tank. I suppose the other thing I could do is I could use steel and make a little plate or something that comes down and pushes up against the chassis rail so it can't go in. There's probably quite a few different ways I could do it. But, no, I think it looks right. And apart from the leather straps, that's basically everything on the car. So looks better from lower angles, but yeah, I think that's going to work.